It's been almost 16 years since the United States invaded Iraq in order to overthrow the regime of Saddam Hussein, spring of 2003, you'll remember. In the end, more than 4,000 American troops died in that war. Tens of thousands more were maimed. And, of course, more than 100,000 Iraqi civilians died as well. The whole thing cost this country more than $1 trillion, and the ripple effects are still obvious. In fact, it's really hardly a stretch to say that without the Iraq invasion, there would be no Syrian civil war, no ISIS, no European migrant crisis. And for that matter, there might be no President Trump, who ran against that war. The Iraq War turned out to be our most momentous and costliest foreign policy action since Vietnam. And it might have been worth it if we got something out of it in the end. But did we? We didn't make the region safer. The weapons of mass destruction that justified the invasion never existed. And that's a fact worth remembering the next time the government and the New York Times align to assure you that something is absolutely true, for real. It may not be true. It often isn't true. But for a broader answer to whether it was worth it or not, there is a new 2-volume, 1,300-page study of the war and its consequences. It was produced by the Army War College and was released last month to very little notice. The conclusions of the study are grim. Years of warfare in Iraq failed to create a thriving democracy there, or even really a stable government. Our much-vaunted coalition of allies didn't work very well, since most allies sent only token forces, too few to be useful. A handful of countries did all the real work. Keep that in mind when they tell you how critical NATO is. But the most damning part of the report is its conclusion that the Iraq War really only had one winner. The winner was not America, it wasn't Iraq. According to the report's authors, quote, an emboldened and expansionist Iran appears to be the only victor of the Iraq War. Oof. Will any of these lessons get noticed in Washington? Well, almost nobody has paid any price at all for embroiling this country in the Iraq disaster. The biggest advocates of the war are still around, and amazingly, many are still influential. Bill Kristol, Max Boot, John Bolton. Many of these people want to repeat the Iraq War on a larger scale if they can in Syria or Libya or Yemen or Venezuela or Iran itself. They've learned nothing, and they may get their chance to do it again. But before they do, they ought to read a book report on the Army War College report.